Hello everybody, my name's Kunai Mainika, and welcome back to the unboxing, where today is a bit of an exciting one because we've kind of been building up to it, though we aren't going to quite see the finale yet, but this is a pretty big important piece. I'm being vague, but you already know what it is from the title and thumbnail, because today we are looking at the biggest, most important part of the Age of the Primes Combaticons, with the Transformers Age of the Primes Commander Class, Combaticon Onslaught. But yes, this is Onslaught, the leader of the Combaticons, and as such, he comes with the combiner frame for Bruticus. I'm going to say it out loud now if you want to leave immediately. I'm not going to be full-on armoring up, full-on combining Bruticus. I'm going to be showing the skeleton, since that is something that you can do within the box and is advertised within the box. But since I don't have Swindle, I'm not going to go ahead and show off the full-on combined mode. The problem is that this is number 4 of 5. It kind of annoys me that this is the 4th of 5 releases. I kind of wish they just put 5 of 5 on the box anyways, even though it isn't inaccurate. It isn't accurate. But yeah, it annoys me that he's 4 of 5. He's not in the middle, he's not the last, he's not the first, he's just there in a weird spot. But either way, this will be somewhat similar if as a toy release too, if you've seen it, the Commander, his name's Silverbolt. Yes, because it's right there. It's right there. It's very similar to that release, where as the combiner piece, you get the main guy as well as a bunch of kibble to help combine the other 4 figures onto him. But from what I can tell, this one's a little bit more interesting. But I still got Silverbolt anyways. You can go see that Silverbolt video on the channel already. But yes, here, as part of this release, you can get this wonderful artwork where we have the 4 of 5 steps down at the side, or 4 of 5 and 44 steps to go from robot to truck. You have a nice, wonderful image of Onslaught, this one that's been teased by Hasbro for a long time now. I'm glad, they've been teasing this thing for like a year, almost ever since we got Vortex, but whatever. But yeah, you have him with some nice spray paint behind him, as well as next to him a image of like a Cybertronian city with all 4 of the other Combaticons, as well as his main battle truck mode. But yeah, it's nice to have all 5 of them, because Silverbolt's box only had 3 of the combiners. I can actually pull it up right now, because I have it right under. So yes, here's Silverbolt, so you can see it only has the 3. But yeah, so down here it says Transformers, Age of the Primes, Combaticon, Onslaught, as you would hope, given that's who it is. It's a Hasbro release, fuck them as a company. Takara Tomy, right there. You have the nice Primes mural fully done up on the top with the Transformers Combaticon Onslaught right there. On the bottom, it's just your usual barcodes and legalese and languages and stuff, as is to be expected. On this side, you get the usual chunk of the mural, this time, of course, showing Nexus Prime at front and center, as well as Onyx and Alchemist. Other one, Transformers Age of the Primes Commander Class. And then on the other side, you have that same image of Bruticus that has been on the other Combaticons, though obviously more fitting this time, because this is the one with Bruticus in it. Collect to combine 4 of the 5 Transformers Age of the Primes Combaticon Onslaught, which is very exciting to see. And then on the back, you get everything that this set can do, which is frankly a pretty good amount, I do have to admit. The Silverbolt had this too, but this one feels a little bit more full. You have, of course, the figure itself doing a similar pose to what's on the front, as well as his base truck mode. And then going down here, you get the sort of full-on truck with assault platform on the back, which the assault platform can transform into a little gunner platform that can hold the other Combaticons as like sort of a base thing, so if you want to do that. And then, of course, you have the combiner frame for Bruticus, and it shows that you can put on Blastoff or Brawl, as those are the 2 main Year 2 figures that you can get. I think they're doing a re-release of Vortex at some point, I forget exactly, as well as, of course, Swindle coming later this year, which will be covered. Don't worry, I'll probably also cover the entire Bruticus combiner in that video, so yeah, I will cover the articulation and the basic of the Bruticus figure here. It just won't have the combined bits, so it won't be a full aesthetic look. So, but yeah, that's the box. So I'm thinking we get this unboxed, shall we? Let's. There's 2 pieces of tape. Opening it up, you get a little bit of cardboard. Not super swanky cardboard, but cardboard nonetheless. Let's actually just... Whatever. Yes, here you have what you get out of the box, and obviously it's a decent amount. So you have a very thick instruction manual because it's doing the job for a lot of guys. So yeah, if I open it up, Jesus, it does have the instructions. Does it have the instructions for Swindle too? It has the instructions for all of them. It only shows for Blast Off and Brawl. Huh. But yes, let's get into it. We also have the legalese paper. You know about that if you've seen other Transformers. But as you can tell, this is a lot of accessory and one main figure. So let's get on with it. First off, we have this baggie, which is mostly going to be parts that are necessary for the figure itself. I guess I've kind of unraveled the bag like so. So I guess we're just going to handle it like that. It is these two sort of silver blasters. They're extensions for what the next part is going to be, so I'm not going to cover them too much, but the silver paint is very nice, and it is sculpted very nicely. There's some nice ridging on the inside of the barrel, and the little lines on the outside are also very nice. It's good, and you get two because you kind of have to do a lot of assembly for each individual part. Packaged separately, once again, is this. This is the main, like, cannon part for the big trailer. Obviously, it's also a bit backpacky, and it's a little bit scuffed out of the package from the cardboard, but it does look nice. Again, you have some nice silver paint, and the green plastic does also look pretty good. It's a military green, and it's also covered in some nice greebles that I really like. And then, I guess you just plug in according to the slots to keep them aligned, because there's like a slot there, and a slot there. You just go like that, and you have that. After that, within this big piece of cardboard, you have, I'm gonna zoom out for this, the kibble chunk, which is very dense and heavy, but at least this time it's a trailer. I think, yeah, as you can see, it has the Bruticus chest plate, and it's mostly done up in this dark blue, which looks very nice. So there is some, I think, paint hits, or at least these are different plastic, which really actually looks kind of nice. The two different shades of blue contrasting with each other really adds a little bit of definition, as well as, of course, the really nice texturing on it, the sort of like metal cross-hatching pattern, which you kind of see commonly. The top certainly looks very good, though. I'm pretty sure. How do I attach this? The instructions say you gotta lift up the cannons, then you slot that onto the mushroom peg, swivel it down, move down the cannons, and here you have the trailer. I guess you also latch this up, I think. Oh yeah, that has a swivel. There's a little metal pinned swivel here. That is got to be the attachment point. But yes, from the side, it's a little bit messier. There's a lot of this dark green here where the arms are going to be, and the thighs are very obvious. Though these nice blue tankers are a nice little touch, even if they are painted a little bit messily. But yeah, it's a trailer at least. Even if this from the side, it's not the most pleasing thing in the world, but we'll take a better look of it once it's attached to the vehicle. Let's get it snipped out while we're here, because those are the main accessories. He doesn't have a blaster, unfortunately, which I think is the big complaint, in my opinion. From what I can see of this set, you don't get a blaster unless you buy Swindle, and of course, Swindle isn't out yet. I'm gonna put the box to the side just for the sake of space. But yes, here is the main truck, and again, the side is a little awkward looking, mainly because of this gap. I kind of wish there was like a flap to go there, but that might have been a little bit much. From the front, it's a very nice aggressive truck. Some nice slightly metallic black windows, contrasts with the dark blue of the truck very nicely. Let's actually get some detail shots in. Yeah, it's a very nice truck. Some nice greebling on the hood, of course, all of that. And then we have the little foot flaps, and those are in a slightly different sheen, which might be coming more out in the lighting, but yeah, it looks different, but the wheels do look nice, and they are nicely pinned. They have some nice silver paint apps on them. And overall, this does look like a fairly nice truck. The big gap in the middle is a little annoying, but I do feel like this would be nice on its own. And of course, you have Onslaught just kind of sitting there. And, as mentioned just now, to combine, there's some slots, and then you peg the slots into the thingy. And there you have the full-on convoy, and it is very massive. And unlike Silverbolt, I do think this actually kind of works. It feels massive, obviously, but like I think it ought to. It Onslaught too. Yeah, it's ought to feel big and chunky, and it's nice that it has a nice little pivot point so that it can move around, though I guess that port is a little bit loose. It's better than being too tight. But yeah, it seems like it'll roll around fairly nicely. If you have it on a good surface, that is. My wheels are having a little bit of a hard time. Maybe that's just because of the pegging. But yeah, it does come together very nicely. There's some gappiness on the side, which is going to be one of the main angles. You look at it just due to its sheer length. I don't know if you're going to have a deep enough shelf to fully display it if you're going to display it in vehicle mode, but it does at least round out the flatbed look. This feels like a little bit less of a bump on its own. But yeah, it's also a lot of dark blue. Maybe some panel lining would do this some favors to kind of accentuate certain details, but I do think this looks very nice and a lot better than Silverbolt did. Though maybe not as good as the trailer from Menasor, though that trailer is really short. I don't own the Legacy Evolution Menasor. Maybe I should go out and buy it at some point. Whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is, this is the vehicle mode, but I really want to get to the base robot mode, so why don't we? Eh? Yes, here we have the figure and the main accessory, the Onslaught Assault platform, as I guess I'll call it. And this automatically feels more well-rounded than Silverbolt did. For one, I'm going to admit, this feels bigger than Onslaught's, or than Silverbolt's wall. It takes up more space, I'm pretty darn sure. But this does also just feel more, I guess, like in terms of like, you can't really fit anything here. Since it's going like that and then that, it takes up more floor space, but also it just feels bigger. I guess just because these are slotted to the side and then that's going up top. But yeah, it's otherwise a fairly simple affair. You're essentially moving the knees backward and upward or whatever, slightly pivoting this and putting the arms on the side and having these as a slight ramp. Though it as a slight ramp is very nice. And something worth noting, both in this and in normal vehicle mode, you can fit like deluxe size transformers onto this platform. So Onslaught can carry them around, or they can wait in this platform. So that's nice. And as far as articulation goes, this is on a swivel, so it can go all the way around, and then this can hinge up and down. It can hinge actually all the way back like that, and then down. And then there are these two 5mm pegs that you can take your Onslaught figure and attach the hands to the pegs, just like so. So slot that in there, slot that in there. Thinner pegs than I would like. A little bit awkward to get them in, especially since he doesn't have wrist swivels, which we'll get to. But he can stand at his battle platform, ready to meet any enemies that he may face, and he does move with the swivel. So that's nice. But I don't know if there's much to say about the battle platform. It's nice. It's a lot better than what Silverbolt had, and honestly better than what Menasor had, as sort of a well-rounded thing, but I guess there's just not much to say, because it's just kibble, all in all. But it is at least nice that it's somewhat useful, and especially in the time period where I'm going to be displaying them all individually as I wait for Swindle, I think this will be a good display, all things considered. But that's not why we're here. We're here for the figure that is on the box, whose name is on the box, and that is Onslaught, who looks, I'm going to admit, very good. I really like how this rendition of Onslaught looks. I've always liked the Combaticons in general. I feel like they're some of my favorite robot Transformers designs. I feel like they are able to do the combiner thing while also feeling nice and cool and militant and distinct. This toy does look very good. A fairly minimal amount of kibble, though there is some, which we'll get to. And he overall just has the shaping down, the look down, even if he is for, I'm pretty sure this is now $100, which is absurd. Honestly, again, for basically all Hasbro products these days, unless you are really into it, you should wait for a deal. It does look like Onslaught, at least, and whatnot. But yeah, starting off with the head, his head sculpt is fucking amazing. The nice dark blue, sort of like, almost like construction worker helmet look, with the mouth plate looks so good, and it's some nice, simple but distinct geometric shapes The eye visor is really well painted, especially for something that's hues so close to yellow. It looks nice and good, and like it's glowing. It's very strong, and of course the nice metallic silver. Though of course it is also highlighted, despite it being on like a sea of dark blue, by the green back here, which I think was a very smart choice. It helps the head feel distinct from the back. And said back has a pair of cannons, nice and small, somewhat emulating the ones over on the battle platform, but these are going to be his main weapons. He can sort of arch forward and go pew, 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 pew. I don't think they fit blast effects, unfortunately, but they are nice and silver and very well sculpted, and I like them, even though these nub marks are a little bit visible. And here we move on to the backpack, which is stellar, honestly. It feels natural for a double cannon setup like this to have a bit of a backpack, and everything just tucks away very nicely. There's even a whole head hiding in there, but everything just very simply but cleanly sort of crumples down in a very satisfying motion and then locks into place here and locks into place with the neck. And it just looks good. It's a great backpack. I love it a lot. The arms do look fairly simple. The dark blue plastic does show a little bit of extra plastic marring than you would expect, but the shaping, again, is nice and simple yet distinct, as you would expect from Age of the Primes. Made out of a nice solid plastic, which I like the look of a lot. You have that nice slot there. The simple black bicep, which does kind of get eaten into the lower arm, but it does look fairly nice for something that's simply mushroom pegged on, even if the mushroom peg allows a little bit of hollowness there. And you have the lower elbow, or the lower arm, where a lot of your kibble comes in. I do kind of wish this was able to like almost flip to the back or flip to the side or something, though I don't mind the wheel being here, just the sort of wheel barrel around it. But otherwise, the arm looks nice. I really like the greebling on this side. The little bit of arm detailing around where the joint is, and then the nice distinct sort of panels around there. And the hand also continues that nice greebling on the hand plate. And the hands are nice and simple yet distinct. The torso is also very strong. These two big peck-like rectangles, which then goes to this abdominal area, which has your nice clean Decepticon symbol. Again, it's also got a very nice shiny sheen, which allows for that simple yet distinct sculpting to really shine. It looks very nice. And then some nice silver paint here at the lower abdomen, which looks very good. The waist is interestingly in this dark green, though I do think it works to help, almost like a belt to split up the top and the bottom of the body, to help it feel very heroic, or whatever, I guess villainous, strong, whatever. With the nice line going down the crotch and then the two little lights, it's almost like it's the front of the truck. But obviously it's just faux parts, but it does look very good, and these are some nice flaps, though there's nothing on the backside. The upper legs are fine. The matte texture does kind of hide a lot of the sculpt a little bit, but it has still some nice sculpt. I like the little rectangles and all the little lines. Very nice and mechanical, very good. And I like the way the joint looks. It's like a ratchet, but it looks good. And then the lower legs are nice and chunky. I like the little green there. And there's a little bit of gappage on the back, obviously, where the knee goes for transformation, and obviously a little bit here on the side. But overall, it does hide its gaps very well, and I do like the wheels on the side of the legs. And the fronts also look very nice, though I guess if I'm going to complain, the shape of the feet isn't super distinct. It's just essentially a rectangle with a big heel, though the heel does help him despite the backpack. But I do wish he had a little bit more of a distinct toe shape on each foot. But despite my small quibbles, he's very cool. I don't know, I'm very much biased towards the look of the Combaticons just because of my personal tastes in giant robots, but he just works very well. I think he does his design justice and just looks very cool. Moving on to articulation, the head is on a ball joint. It's able to move pretty decently down. You have the flap that you can use, I guess, because it's a little loose. Head doesn't really go down very far. Up a little bit more. A little bit of tilt thanks to the head shape. And, of course, your swivels, though it is a little tight. And a bit hard to get to because of the backpack. Shoulders have a sort of duo joint setup because of the way it's set up, though. This second joint is thooped, so... or, like, faux ratcheted, but, you know... So you're not going to be able to get it all super great, but it does allow for some nice last shooting style poses on that other joint. And the main joint goes up about that far, if you're wondering. And then, of course, it has a full swivel. You do have a bicep swivel, though. When you bend the elbow, the bicep swivel is going to be limited by the kibble, so like up to like about there. And then once you get to here, you can't really move the bicep swivel much anymore, which is annoying, but... I guess just play around with it, see what you can do, because like you can get it there, but you just gotta know how to move it. You can't really get it back like that though I guess you can kind of do that. And then the fist, my most annoying aspect. Well, obviously, something we've been dancing around. Single jointed elbow, which goes 90 degrees. Though my biggest annoyance, for $100, you do not get a wrist swivel. It goes down because of transformation, but there is no wrist swivel. It should have been a ball joint like on Lio Kaiser, but whatever. Of course, the wheels spin. Torso articulation, I think it's just a waist swivel, though it does give you full range because there's nothing in the way thanks to that spectacular backpack. These hinge out of the way up that far, which is nice to see, allowing the legs on ratchets, which is kind of nice, to go up that far, back that far since there's no real butt flap in the way, and outward very far, so that's a good kick. You have a thigh swivel, fairly unimpeded. Single jointed knee that goes about that far. You can basically go all the way with it. I think there's also this secondary joint, which is more so for transformation, but it's locked into place. You're mainly going to be using the single joint, but it goes basically as far as you would need. The only thing really getting in the way is actually the heel spur. So I guess just keep that in mind when posing it. And then for the ankle, or for the feet, ankles, whatever, they can move forward very nicely thanks to transformation. Don't really move backwards. I guess you can now move the heel in. And then, of course, ankle pivot very nicely. Modern Transformers have been very good about giving you generous ankle pivots. So, all things considered, Onslaught's pretty dang good. He obviously has his limitations, unfortunately, mainly these wrists. The elbows are also a little awkward, but maybe some nicer torso articulation would have been nice, but I understand why it's not there, given the combination of it all. But yeah, he's very nice. He's better than Silverbolt, I think. He looks cooler. I do think he poses in cooler ways for what it's worth. And obviously, he can interact with this base far easier. The wall had a hard time fucking standing up. This is solid, this will stay in place, and this is actually usable because it has an actual point of articulation. But again, I have a hard time recommending this set on its own, because on its own, this is really what you're going to be doing. You're going to have Onslaught and his battle platform on its own. There's obviously the next mode, which we're gonna get to, don't worry, but on its own, this is what you're buying, I think, because the combined mode, while it's a skeleton and it's fully available to you to play with, it's incomplete and naked and doesn't look the greatest. Especially this one, given some of the stuff that the other combined parts are gonna do. But as it is now, I have a hard time recommending this for $100. Just if you're gonna buy it on its own. If you're just going to buy it on its own, I have a hard time recommending just Onslaught for $100. But that's what I said about Silverbolt, and I do think this is a better value than Silverbolt because of the interactivity of the battle platform, which I guess I'll bring in. This feels far more worth the money than the wall did if you're just going on its own, because it has interactability with the other parts if you don't have all the parts, or even just with other deluxe-sized Decepticons. It has a play pattern, even if it's not as good as, like, say, Commander Optimus from Studio Series 86. It at least feels a bit more like a base. And again, I kind of have to mentally compare this to Studio Series Optimus. He doesn't have as much articulation as that figure, so I have a hard time fully recommending it. If this guy had wrist swivels, I would be far more amenable, honestly. He just should have had wrist swivels. But yeah, the transformation is fun, at least. I had a lot of fun moving things into place, especially this backpack. This is a lot of just moving parts, but it's not as good, but it's a battle platform. So yeah, I do think this is better than Silverbolt was, but still not, on this package alone, worth $100. But your value proposition may change if you get the other 4 figures for another about $150, which I should not have to say. But yes, it's time to get in a combined mode. I want to see how that is. So let's jam. Yeah. And with all of that out of the way, we have essentially what you're paying for. The Bruticus Combiner Skeleton. Or whatever, I don't know. Yeah. But yes, this is essentially what you're coming here for. And this is far more of what I would expect from a commander class. I feel like I had similar words for Superion, but yeah, it is big, it is bulky, it is a lot of plastic, though obviously it is incomplete because it's not fully combined. I do not have all the parts yet, so I'm not going to fully combine it. I want to save that for when I have everything, honestly, which you will see when I get to the Swindle video. The Swindle video is coming whenever that decides to ship. But for now, I'm going to look at what I can with nothing on it. So we got to start off with the head. Obviously, we have the two cannons at the back. I'll give you a full 360 once this is all done, but you got the full two cannons on the back, though I do wish you could hide these a little easier. You probably can move them back into the backpack if you put some effort in, but it's a little annoying that by default you have those, though it creates this interesting stacking effect, though these cannons look very nice on the back, and I'm sure they'll look better once he has his, like, shoulder pylons, essentially. Though, of course, the main event is, let's get it out of the shadow a little bit, the wonderful head sculpt. It's mostly, the most annoying part is that it's mostly in that sort of swirly twirly silver plastic without paint on it, though I guess that's mainly to differentiate it from the silver painted faceplate, which does look nice, and I love those big red eyes and the nice detailing all over it, and the mohawk that you kind of have to pull out all on its own. But the plastic does kind of betray it. It hides a lot of the details. Let's look at the back of the head just so you can get a good look at that. There's a bit of a gap and a screw, but that's fine. But yeah, the head does still look like Bruticus. It's a little small, though I guess it does make the rest of his body feel bigger. I do like how it looks a lot. Moving on to the chest, this is interesting because I feel like a lot of people have had weird feelings about this, feeling weird and short and stubby. I feel like a lot of that comes from this chest plate. They kind of expect it, given its winged shape, to spread out further, but thanks to transformation, it just kind of juts off and stops there, though I don't think it's the worst thing. I really do like the metallic paint and like plastic on it, though. It does look very pretty and premium. It shines in the lighting. And of course you have the wonderful Decepticon symbol, which just looks great, and then you have your little purple shield. Like, all of this looks like it's coming off a blast off, though it's just he kind of has it, I guess. It looks very nice, and I like these faux wheels, which are right next to these wheels. That looks good, and the continuation of the silver lower abdomen does look great. And I guess, speaking of the backpack, I'll give a quick talk on, is pretty perfect. Again, similar to with Onslaught, the fact that it's the back cannons does help it a lot. But even alongside that, have the worst part is probably the visible hands, though even still they lock into place very solidly, because this transformation is fairly fun. I imagine it was sort of dampened for me by the fact that I already have Silverbolt, and it's very similar to that. You turn Onslaught into a cube, slot him into the torso, though there's a little bit less of the active combining, because the legs are always attached in the way that they should be, but it's fine. Yes, then you get to the arms, which are basically Silverbolts. I do like, I mean, they're differently sculpted, mainly because of these wheels they have to slot in. So they have different sculpting, but it's basically the same as Silverbolts, so they have some nice mechanical detail that you're going to hide up, and they feel very thin as they are now, but will be bulked out once you get all the other parts. And then you have the hand, which is nice and silvery and well done, in that similar, somewhat off-gray plastic, though it doesn't feel as weird here as it does in the helmet. And you get more of that once you get to the crotch. Some nice silver paint here at these front flaps and the main crotch itself, though we return to the gray here. Though I do like the little bit of inner blue that adds a little bit of an interest. Though the sculpting is very nice, even if it's softened by the plastic a bit. You can see this canister on the outside done in silver, so it doesn't look too awkward. Ugh, that's about to fall out. Of course, at the back you have the greebling from the sort of Combiner Wars style connection port that the knees are made of, so yeah, but they look nice, and even the screws fit in because of the color scheme. Then you get to what is probably going to be the biggest sacrifice of this rendition of the figure. The legs are pretty plain on their own. They have some nice greebling, all things considered, on the inside, which gives an inner frame-like feel. But as you can tell, there's nothing in them. Because as a combiner, you do have to put the leg parts at the front of the leg, which is actually going to be a big boon, because if you give him a side profile, the legs are going to be a lot slimmer, a lot sleeker. They're going to be bulky, obviously, because he's got a bulky look, but he's not just going to have these massive plane-shaped calves like Silverbolt has. And then, of course, as noted, I think before, the toesies are color coordinated. You have Swindles, and you have Brawls. So those look very, very nice. And of course, you have, on account of that, some really high ankle tilts, but we'll get used to it. But it looks good. It looks, I don't know, even as it is, the figure does look pretty good. Obviously, it looks incomplete, but what is there looks very exciting and very cool, and leaves me room for imagination for how it's going to look in the future. But one last thing, I'm going to get to articulation, which I'm guessing is going to be pretty similar to Silverbolt. So head is on a ball joint, thankfully, so it can do a little bit of, not really a lot of down, not really a lot of up, not really a lot of tilt because of the shape and the lack of a neck, but it can swivel as you need and has a little bit of nice, decent expression as you need it. Shoulders are going to be ratcheted, so it can do a full 360 and can move out that far, though they can't go further, unfortunately. You do have the bicep swivel, which is a little low, nearly at the elbow joint, but it works. Single jointed elbow, which goes 90 degrees. There might be slight limitations when the wings are put on, but that's okay. You have a wrist swivel, like so, which is also nice to see. Will be good for when he holds a weapon. You have a waist swivel, this time basically unimpeded because there's nothing on the back to get in the way, thankfully. Then you have the little waist guards again. You have the hips, which are again ratcheted very loudly, which can kick forward that far. The knees want to come out. Back, not super far because they clash into this, though I guess you can unlatch it if you want to go fully backwards, though I'm not sure that'll be super structurally sound. Though I guess this only really holds the swivel point, so I guess let's just plug that back in. And then, moving the arm out of the way, you can kick outward basically all the way. You have a thigh swivel, as is expected. The knee moves back all the way, and that's not going to change, thank goodness. That's not going to change at all. And then you have your ankle pivot, which is very high up, but it does seem to have basically full range, though it will look awkward. And then there's not really going to be any usable toe articulation. The foot can theoretically move down, though that's not going to be really used at all once it's locked into place. But yeah, I guess what I have to say is, while I am very much biased for Onslaught, it is the combiner that I was like, I need to have an Onslaught and a Bruticus in my collection. This ultimately feels like the final refinement of the combiner skeleton system. I don't really know what else they can do from here. The kibble is managed perfectly. The extra parts all have something to do in all of the modes. It still has that nice combinery feel, especially if you choose to take these out when you put on the parts and then you slot them back on. Of course, I haven't fully combined it yet, but from all I've heard, it's a lot more interesting and a lot more involved than the previous combiner skeletons, mainly thanks to these two. While still having their fun factor and their good looks and their articulation and their solidity. So yeah, this is probably, if you're going to get one of the two Age of the Primes combiners at this current day, I think I would recommend Bruticus if you can only choose one, though I'm sure they'll look great together on the shelf. Whether this is better than Lio Kaiser, I don't know. I can't say that yet. Probably not. I really like Lio Kaiser. But this figure is pretty good, and especially if you're going for the full combined mode, then yeah, this is going to be worth it in the end, I think. Though, as an individual release, I would be patient unless you're willing to be really into this look. This is a nice, big, bulky figure. To be fair, once you have it like this, though it obviously looks very incomplete. So, I mean, I imagine a kid could have a lot of fun with this if you're getting it for your child on its own. Though, again, I have a hard time recommending any of these combiner skeletons as just a standalone release. Though, as something that's going to be built up, I do think it's going to be, in the end, worth it. But yeah, that's my review, or I guess unboxing of Onslaught. I can't do a full review because I don't have all the parts yet. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like on the video. Comment your thoughts as well on this whole combiner system, what you think of the combiner skeletons. I like them. I think they allow for the designers to put a lot of premium design decisions while staying within budget. At least I think. Anyways, leave a comment whatever your thoughts on about the figure, about Combiner Skeletons, about Transformers, about whatever. Be sure to check out the channel for previous videos if you want to look. If you haven't seen one of these Combiner Skeletons before, I've reviewed all of the Silverbolt pieces, and of course I've looked at the currently released Onslaught or Bruticus pieces. So you can check out all of those already uploaded onto the channel, and be sure to subscribe for whenever Swindle comes out, because that will fully complete this lineup. But yeah, until next time, I guess, I'll see you all around. Bye-bye!